Thanks for inviting me to be here. It's really wonderful to see you all. Good morning.
Good morning.
And thank you, Bill, for not pressuring me about the topic of my talk, because the way I work, Spirit kind of gives it to me, downloads it right at the last minute. If it weren't for the last minute, nothing would get done. So what am I going to talk to you about today? I'm going to talk to you about, since you mentioned pharma and my background in that, I'll give you a little bit of background just so you know, but the name of my talk is Perfect Health in the Collective Consciousness. Okay. So just to give you a little background, I'm a registered nurse. Did 2 years of psychiatric nursing before I was derailed into the pharmaceutical research arena, where I did monitoring of clinical trials for various pharmaceutical companies. And because of a lot of corporate, I did research, I had nothing to do with the ads on TV. After being in corporate for 4 years, I guess, I decided I needed to start at the top because I was very disgusted with corporate America. So I started a company that did clinical trials for physicians doing research in the Philadelphia area. And then I also monitored drug trials in this country and all over the world. So I worked in every therapeutic area. A lot of cardiovascular, one of my favorites and near and dear to my heart, is working on the heart. And so hip and knee replacement, head injury, spinal cord injury, GI, GU, neurology, we've done it all. And so simultaneously with starting that company, I started studying metaphysics, which was an interesting paradox. So as I became more passionate about metaphysics, I wasn't as conscious and self-aware, and so I had this double life going on. So people were like, well, how can you be a metaphysician and do drug research for a living? And I said, well, I don't know. But I loved it, and what clinical research did for me is that it renewed nursing for me, because clinical research is not clinical medicine. They're very, very different. When a patient's in a drug study, we watch them very carefully. I had a unique opportunity to spend an hour, sometimes 2 hours with a patient at a visit. So I got to know them, I got to know their families, I got to know their histories, I got to know their marriages, their jobs, their problems, their issues. Well, patients do very well in drug studies, and the placebo effect is 40%, which is why the FDA requires that placebo-controlled trials are done to approve the drugs that you have both over the counter and by prescription. 40%. So even the FDA recognizes the mind-body connection, which is really fascinating. And so gradually, as I was studying metaphysics and spending all this time with these patients, I got to see the placebo effect up close and personal. Because many times in the beginning of a trial, patients are on a placebo run-in. That's where it's single blind, and they're on placebo, but they don't know it. The doctor and the study coordinator know it, but they don't know it. And so they've been withdrawn from all of their regular medications to ensure that they have the disease process that you're trying to treat, because you wouldn't want to put a patient on in a hypertensive study if they don't actually have hypertension. So what was fascinating is that they would get better many times, and they would what's called screen fail. So the good news for them is that they could, well, good and bad news, they wanted to be in the drug study, but the bottom line was that they couldn't be because they were doing too well. They didn't have to go back on their medications many times, but they couldn't be in the study because they didn't have what we needed to treat. So I got to see that firsthand, and particularly with cardiology studies, I believe the heart is the hub. The heart, the emotions are at the center of everything. And so as these worlds began to come together for me, I got to see that, here was traditional Western medicine, which is the way I was trained as an RN, as doctors are trained, and then metaphysics. And so as the worlds started to come together, it really showed me that there really needs to be a blending of both, and that it's not an either-or situation, it's on the whole spectrum of healing as it relates to consciousness. And so in my practice, as I do counseling, I went on further. I got a PhD. I never thought I'd do anything with these degrees, by the way. I just got a PhD in metaphysics because I was spending so much time studying metaphysics, and then I got a PhD in divinity, and then I went to ministry school, and then I studied Ayurveda and meditation and yoga. And so in my practice, I truly practice in an integrative fashion where I honor Western medicine. Western medicine has done miraculous things for people. It's just the way we use it that's really out of balance. It's this treat the symptom, not the cause type of a philosophy that just doesn't work. And we're all starting to get it, that it just doesn't work. And so we're starting to demand better care. And unfortunately, alternative remedies and things and natural healing modalities are tried as a last resort rather than a first resort. People try the drug first, and that's probably because of the insurance companies and how medicine is practiced, because of the copay, and people who even want natural healing cannot get it because of the way our systems are intertwined and the negativity feeding on itself. So in my practice, I do a thorough history and intake and try to evaluate where that person is with their symptoms, and we of course recognize the need for symptomatic care. However, what it really boils down to is matters of the heart. Okay, so for those of you who don't know what Ayurveda is a over 6,000-year-old philosophy. So like Chinese medicine, that's about 5,000 years old, it's a consciousness-based system of health and well-being. So meditation is the cornerstone, knowing the self, knowing who you are intimately, getting in touch with your body, your mind, your heart, your spirit, so that you know that no doctor, no holistic practitioner, myself included, knows what's better for your body than you do. Not that you don't rely on people and their expertise to help guide you, but your inner wisdom is where it's at. Okay, so that's just a little background, and Ayurveda is such a beautiful, beautiful philosophy. I've been living an Ayurvedic lifestyle. I do try to walk my talk. I'm not perfect at it, but I do an Ayurvedic lifestyle, and between the meditation, we believe in food as medicine, herbs, lifestyle practices, yoga, which is truly about unity, and living in harmony and with nature, with the cycles, the rhythms of nature, the rhythms of our body, the rhythms of the seasons, the rhythms of the lifespan. Okay, so if you're interested in hearing a little bit more about that, I'll be happy to tell you about that. So as I was asking, what do you need to hear today from me? So in Sanskrit, Ayurveda's language is Sanskrit. So so we say in Sanskrit, sama dosha, sama agni, sama dhatu, mala kriya. Prasana atma indriyas manas svastha iti abhityati. And that means one who is established in the self has balanced doshas, balanced constitutional type. Everybody has a particular constitutional type based on the interaction of 5 elements of space, air, fire, water, and earth. And so our makeups are different. So it's a very individualized system of medicine where one person's poison could be another person's nectar. And that's what we're always honoring in Ayurveda. So it means balanced constitution, balanced digestive fire. We believe in digestion in Ayurveda. We not only digest our food, we digest our experiences. So when somebody gives you a compliment, you have to digest it. When someone assaults you or betrays you, you have to digest that as well. Otherwise, the residue from those toxins goes inward and creates havoc, creates cancer, creates GI problems, creates insomnia, anxiety, depression. We know the list. Properly formed and balanced tissues, proper elimination, a mind, soul, and senses that are full of bliss from connection with God. This is perfect health. Okay, so what does this have to do with new thought? As B.K.S. Iyengar said, as long as you do not live totally in the body, you do not live totally in the self. B.K.S. Iyengar was a beloved yoga teacher that recently passed away. So what I'm about to say is going to sound pretty grim, so just bear with me. and keep in mind that this is about consciousness and raising the collective vibration. So I first want to point out some of the absurdities about what we're doing, simply to bring awareness to it. Doesn't mean we focus on it, because what we focus on, we create. Our thoughts, our words, our language, our actions create our reality. So this is about being aware, bringing awareness, shining light on, so that we can make different choices. So these are just some short-sighted examples of the quick fix philosophy at work. I just happened to hear on KYW about sports betting in Philadelphia, and then there's a gambling warning at the end. Big Pharma, the American Medical Association, the FDA, Food and Drug Administration, conspires to market illness, keeping sick people sick, with little attention to keeping well people well. Prevention. Trust me, prevention's really hard to sell. Really hard. The banking industry that conspires to keep us in debt and in financial slavery. An entire food industry with their chemicals and GMOs conspiring to keep us overweight, sick, and dying. Which, by the way, are owned by only a few big companies who shall remain nameless here, but not for long. It's only temporary. The only thing we don't pay for is to breathe. We continue to consume copious amounts of meat that contribute to global warming and animal cruelty. Our growing need for oil and gas, fracking that's hurting the earth and creating chronic illnesses in humans and in animals. The Susan G. Komen Foundation accepts money from a fracking company? For real? Our land is being used to create more fast food choices that promote poor digestion, mindless multitasking, in the name of creating jobs. Again, the quick fix. We justify endless war, in which both sides are funded by the same source, because it's good for the economy. Religion has served to be divisive. Lost my place. Religion has served to be divisive rather than unifying. Our mainstream media is also controlled by those who control the money, which is funded by the food, drug, and banking industry. So for example, the messages that your body is trying to send you when you eat a food that doesn't agree with you or is unhealthy is eat your favorite food. Your favorite foods don't like you, so take a drug, mask the symptoms, and do it anyway. Hate that commercial. Because it's the opposite of everything I'm about, which is listen to the body. As Deepak says, listen to the body, with his little cute Indian accent. Listen to the body. The body knows 24/7, 365 exactly what you should be doing. You're depressed, take a drug. You're anxious, take a drug. You can't sleep, take a drug. Don't look at why, but just mask the symptom. So what's wrong with this picture? A lot. So by the law of attraction, by the law of deliberate creation, and by the law of allowing, we perpetually create a world that's much more about me and my needs and desires, and less about us and the collective consciousness, the planet we live on, the animal, mineral inhabitants of which we're the stewards. But the issue is that we have to start by looking inside of ourselves. We've tried the quick fix. We've tried the fixes outside of ourselves. The real work resides within. And our healing, both individual and collective, and the healing of our planet must begin with our inner work, because you don't start on the outside of yourself to solve a problem. The problem the solution to problems is always on a higher spiritual plane. And our quick fix philosophy isn't working. So you begin by doing the inner work, identifying everything that you see on the outside as a reflection of what's going on the inside. And so that's known in Sanskrit as Tattvam Asi. I am that. Tattvam Asi is actually, I am that, you are that, this is that, and that is all there is. It's also as in, as above, as within, so without, as above, so below. The Upanishads have it as is the human mind, so is the cosmic mind. As is the human body, so is the cosmic body. As is the microcosm, so is the macrocosm. And as is the atom, so is the universe. It's all interconnected. So there's a poem by Rumi which I thought described this perfectly, about going in and facing those things, those demons, those dragons, whatever you find that's so difficult to look at. We're living in a time where the consciousness is shifting, with or without us. So being a part of it and working on your own stuff becomes infinitely important. So this poem was translated by Coleman Barks. Rumi was this 13th century Sufi poet, one of my favorites. So this is called The Guest House. So if you want to close your eyes and listen to the words. This being human is a guest house, every day a new arrival. A joy, a desperation, a joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still, treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice. Meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. Okay. So in the United States, this is Rumi's most famous poem, and the wisdom is really timeless. But it presents a lifelong challenge for us all. Embrace it all. He says our tragedies, the recurring problems, the failures. Along with these, we can all discover our capacity for joy, for love, for ecstasy, for peace, for unity. There are no requirements for joy, as Mother Teresa said of love. It's a fruit in season at all times. Anyone can gather it, and no limit is set. By grace, joy is given to us, and it can come under the most unexpected circumstances. So let's take Rumi's words to heart, and on this precious day. While we may not know exactly how to pray, let's just start by paying attention. 2 weeks ago, I was at an event in New York City called the Voices for Hope, put on by the people who did the economics of happiness. So this was about the International Alliance for Localization. So Chris Hedges was there, a number of other amazing speakers. Judy Webb, who has the White Dog Cafe, was one of the speakers. And while it was a grim message about everything that's happening, but we have an amazing opportunity to empower ourselves to change it. So what can we do? We can empower ourselves by knowing that our thoughts and our language do create our reality, and then demonstrate that knowing by consciously making new choices. This isn't about placing blame or feeling guilty. That stuff needs to be over. This is about acceptance, responsibility, and an inner knowing that everything we think, everything we say, everything we do counts. Not just when you're praying, not just when you're doing affirmations. It's great if you do affirmations 10 or 15 minutes a day. What are you doing the other 23 hours and 50 minutes? It all counts. That's how karma works. That's a topic for another time. So how do we do that? It's another Sanskrit phrase. It's yogashta kuru karmani. Means established in yoga, established in unity. Then I perform action. It's about being established in your beingness. And then think, then speak, then do. We're human doings. We're multitasked to the hilt. Everybody's looking down, going like this. So what can we do? Meditate. Take the time to go within. I'm a huge meditator. I won't even work with anybody if they won't meditate. That's like the cornerstone of Ayurveda. Do yoga. Yoga is about unity. If you sit in the chair within a receptive posture, that's yoga. And there's all kinds of yoga. There's karma yoga, being of service. There's the yoga of devotion, the yoga of action, the yoga of knowledge and wisdom. Slowing down. Slowing down. Breathing. Turn off the TV. Please turn off the TV. Refrain from distracting yourself from the inner work. Put your cell phone down and look up. See the divinity in each other's eyes. That's what you all know what namaste means. The divine in me sees the divine in you, in that place where we are one. Look into people's eyes and say that to yourself. It's a prayer. It's an offering. Inner vigilance with our thoughts and our emotions. Is it hard? Yes. It is hard. But it's through your meditation practice that you start to see this stuff bubble to the surface, and it bubbles to the surface for our transformation. Do we keep repeating patterns? Yes, we do. Many of them are unconscious. But the way to bring them to the surface is to meditate, to go within, because you can't do something about something that you don't even know about. But you can see the results in your life. What we think, say, and do creates our reality. Taking care of the body. Every thought and emotion has a corresponding effect in the physical body. If I were to tell you, think of something fearful, your body would start to release chemicals. And if I told you, think of something joyful and beautiful or a pleasant experience that you had, your body would release other chemicals. Endorphins, oxytocin, serotonin, dopamine, all the stuff that drugs are made of. By giving thanks, it's the season of Thanksgiving. Giving thanks and living in a perpetual state of gratitude, not only for the things that we wanted, but also for the adversity. Personally, I've experienced a lot of adversity in the last 2.5 years, and I am so grateful for it. I'm so grateful for it because it is only by experiences that take you that deep that you can get to the real work. And I'm so grateful for what I learned from that adversity. By recovery of the sacred in everyday life, understanding that life has an intrinsic value that overrides monetary value. Reverence for who we are and what we do have, rather than using things to substitute for what needs to be uncovered inside. We all have our stuff, no matter what age, no matter what phase of life, no matter what race, what religion. We all have our stuff. So as it relates to our food and our eating habits and our health, in Sanskrit, the word sadhana means a sacred act. Make buying, preparing, and eating your food a sacred act. So not only what you eat is important, but how you eat as it relates to perfect health, as it relates to consciousness. Are you eating in your car, talking on the phone, and multitasking? Or are you setting a placemat with flowers and lighting a candle and being grateful for the plants and animals that sacrifice to give you that food? Metaphysically, all that energy goes into that food? And are we grateful for it? Are we reverent? Gratitude, outward and inward, is the best digestive enzyme. And gratitude is truly a doorway to higher consciousness and unity. So just something to be aware of, not only in November and not only this week, but always. Living an Ayurvedic lifestyle is about always doing this. Having a lifestyle that is reverent and sacred. So it's time that we truly, truly got to embrace our radiance, our perfection, our divinity, because everything truly is in divine order. On that we can depend, on that we can trust. Everything happens for a reason, and there are blessings even when that might not be so obvious right away. So in lighting our way, I just want to end with a quote from Carl Jung. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making darkness conscious. We must accept that we are darkness and light. Light makes a move, shadow makes a move. But we must also remember that it only takes one spark to illuminate the darkness. And from this perspective, God is not impossible to find. God is not hard to find. She's impossible to avoid. Namaste. Thank you.